Yo, what's up guys? Today we're going to be coaching an Emerald Annie player, talking a lot kind of about roaming and understanding the playstyle of Annie and more of these like mobile roaming champions who aren't as much focused on the individual lane phase. If you guys are interested in coaching yourselves from a rank 5 sovereign autofill player, just DM me on Discord, Talon1169, or through the link in the description to my Discord. Just $15 an hour for that. And then yeah, let's get right into the video.
This one is like a Pantheon, and he is just a hard. He was roaming like a lot,
Yeah.
and so sometimes it's like, okay, what do I do? Like this person is. What I'm trying to do if they roam a lot, I try to get a lot of the towers thing. I forgot what it's
And your
called.
champion's not really great at pushing towers, so generally it's going to be a bit hard to get that many tower plates, even when they roam
Yeah,
a lot. So it's usually going to be more about pushing the wave and then looking for roams yourself or looking for better recalls. Sometimes if you can take one plate, it might be fine, but we're not going to want to do too many because you just don't kill them very fast. And then an additional thing, especially as a melee or a range in a melee matchup, you want to be hitting this wave as soon as it comes to mid, and then you want that wave to be slightly lower than his wave. You want his minions to be a little bit lower than yours, but just a little bit, because then you can hit them right before he does. Then you have time to now use your abilities on him when he goes for the last hits. Does that make sense?
right. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay,
Yeah.
so you mean to say just see that there's a roam right here. I'm trying to roam.
Yeah, in this scenario, it's fine to try to roam, but as soon as you see that he's not pressuring your jungle, you just go back, and that's fine.
Yeah, I went back.
Yeah, and now
And
he's
then
just kind of being weird, and he goes back and helps. And so again, just pushing the lane and then helping your team, like this is pretty fine how we react to it for the most part. And he ends up killing your teammate, but you'll kill him back, so it's not that bad.
well, I think he ended up dying here.
Yeah.
But see, but then I wasted time there, no?
Yeah, and so the thing we should have done, like initially when we see it, again, if you wasted a bit less time because you saw he already had ran back, like you could have just gone back to mid wave and then started pushing it. And if you push to mid wave, you would be level 3 and he'd be level 2, and then you'd have a bigger advantage, and then you can rotate. So typically, to counter the roam again, we want to push the wave really quickly, get it to crash under the tower. That way, if he spends too much time, he loses a lot of gold. And then if
Got
he
it.
and then you can go roam afterwards, because then you'll be a higher level as well. You'll be stronger. So, and then small thing, but you should have just waited for his shield to kind of go off before trading into him, because then you would have gotten a little more damage.
I guess I actually don't know how that shield works.
Yeah, so that shield, that like, you know, what it looks like though, right? Like the yeah, so when he has that shield up, basically it blocks nearly all of the damage, so you just want to wait for it to go down and then trade after. It only blocks from the front though, so if you go behind him, obviously you can't really go behind him in this scenario, but if you go behind him, then it's gonna be a lot more easy to kill, obviously.
Okay, can you repeat what you were saying, like level 1 or level 2 again? Like
Yeah.
you need to make sure that the...
So if you want to pause, just pause here. Yeah, okay. So you see how currently he has less minions than you?
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
what we want to do in the early game, especially level 1, we want the health bars of his minions to just be a little bit lower than ours. So basically, say, like, you see how you have 4 minions right now, and yours is basically 40% HP, your lowest one. You would want his lowest one to be like 20% HP, so that you can get 1 auto on the minion, and then he has to get 2 autos to kill the minion, because what this does, it means that you can auto that minion, kill the minion, and then when he's going to have to go and auto the minion, kill it himself, you're not going to be having to kill a minion, and then you're going to be able to use your abilities and your auto attacks on him while he's busy trying to kill a minion. So basically, every time that he's trying to go for a last hit, you want to make sure that you've already cleared that minion right before that, so then you can trade onto him. Does that kind of make sense or no?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, you can start it again.
I forgot that it shows things there.
Yeah, you're good. But another thing to keep in mind, again, Pantheon, we're not really going to kill him at this point in the game in the lane. It'd be a lot more valuable to just push the lane as quick as possible and then try to go for roams again. So our goal is really not to play this lane in terms of like for kills, because it didn't work out that way. Say that earlier on in the game you'd played the lane kind of how we spoke about, pressuring a lot more on the last hits and getting level advantages. You might be able to play more for your lane and for killing your lane. But at this point in the game, once this has happened, you have to realize you're not going to really kill the Pantheon, and now we just want to play to roam. And so, again, you were not very aggressive on pushing this wave. You should have been focusing a lot more on clearing the wave quicker. so then we could leave quicker and we'd be able to maybe help this bot lane, for example, when there was that fight going on. Just
Right.
generally focusing on pushing the wave a lot more to then roam.
Got it. So when do I? Because honestly, why I'm doing that is because I'm afraid that he would just, he would jump on me because he has his stun.
Yeah.
And I think that just like, because it's easy for him to do that. He can just jump and then do that, and then I don't think he can trade well, and then he could kill me. And I think that's the reason why I'm so like passive in this game. But I'm
Yeah.
not sure what to do.
So Pantheon's not going to be able to one-shot you on one spell rotation. Like, it's going to have to take a second spell rotation to kill you. And so the first time that he goes in on you and jumps on you, as long as you're relatively close to your turret and you have your stun up, you're still going to be able to trade back on him walking back. So he's going to have to, he has no escape once he goes in on you. So when he jumps on you, he's going to win the initial trade, but you'll stun him so he's not able to get too much damage back on you. And then after he uses his shield, you're going to use the rest of your abilities. So you're going to wait for the shield to go out, and then you go and use your abilities on him, and you're still going to even on the trade for the most part. And then again, we're just going to be focusing on clearing the wave while his spells are on cooldown, and then kind of trading around those cooldowns. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, and then roam.
Yeah, and then roaming, because we're looking to roam again, like we said here. And it's not really a good thing. This ended up working, but this shouldn't have worked. Do not play around the objective that your jungler is not on. Your jungler was going bot side, and you do not need to contest the other objective when your jungler is on the other side. You just need to be playing again to push the mid wave first, and then help your teammate. Don't play to, go for the opposite side when your teammate's somewhere else.
Got it. Got it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That
And
makes
so
a
right
lot-
now, the main issue is just not playing around the mid waves. Like, again, even your roam for this killing that Master Yi, you did not push your mid wave first, which means you lose a lot of gold because those minions die to your minions, or they die under the tower like they do here. And so we're just missing out on a bunch of gold. And so even if we're getting some kills, since we're losing so much gold, it's not really going to be worth it. So again, Annie's strength is more pushing the wave quickly and then roaming. She's not really like a solo carry, stomp your lane type of champion. So
Like
we're,
which
yeah.
champions are like that?
Which champions are like that?
Yeah, like the stump and like
Jace,
Killed.
Lucian, Akshan are like the lane bully champions who really play to stomp their lane in terms of like killing a lot. And then champions like Orianna, Syndra, these types of mages, they care a lot about farm and making sure that they're able to get the minion waves and farm, and then their rotations are a little bit weaker in the early game, but they're more just about scaling up and farming. So those types of champs are the ones who are a little bit more lane focused.
okay. So like
Yeah.
my champion is really more of like pushing the lane and roam.
Yeah, it's more of a similar playstyle to how even Pantheon or an assassin would play the game, because a lot of assassins, they're not as much about stomping the early game, they're more about, pushing and roaming, same with how the Pantheon played. So again, after you'd push this, you should have roamed afterwards to the top side, instead of playing for these turret plates, because this isn't really where we're going to get value as a champion. If we wanted to play like this, we would play Jace or Lucian or something. But it is important to note that you don't need to play this way every game. And so there's going to be games, for example, I'm sure you've had these games where you kill the mid laner very early on in the lane, right? Like you kill him level 2, level 3,
Yeah.
level 4, and then he's pretty bad, maybe you kill him again, right? And so in a scenario like this, where you are winning your lane really hard, and that's just going to naturally happen sometimes, you can play a bit more selfishly in this game, because now the game's going to be more about you being fed, because you get that early lead, so you can continue to spread that through your lane. And still sometimes, if it's if they're playing too safe, you can just push the lane and roam as well in that scenario. But you can try to play a bit more selfishly and more for your lane if the lane goes really well early on.
Got it. You mean like if I want to be more fed, then I can focus on just killing the turret.
Generally, even just pushing the turret when you have a lead is going to be kind of hard as an Annie. So like, unless it's really free, for example, nobody's nearby, and there's nothing better to be doing, then you can. But generally speaking, even when we are fed, it's just going to be better after we've pushed the lane to usually roam if there's any type of opportunity for a roam. And the only time where we're really going to go for the turret plates is when we just killed someone. We know that we already have, like, maybe we have our flash up, so we're not worried about getting ganked. We know it's like extremely safe, basically. That can make sense. It's pretty low priority to go for turrets as Annie generally.
Okay. I guess some of the stuff that I'm like I need to be more I could be more aggressive is that I always care about like their ability, and I always feel like, oh, I gotta be careful, because if not, then they could just bully me and then not be able to trade and just die.
Yeah.
And so like with sometimes with Oriana, I feel like it's hard for me to lane with Oriana, just because it's easy. Like I feel like it's hard for me to touch it at one point, and then he could just bully me. And so I played. I would just play them to just push the lane with me, and then I'm waiting for jungle to come and then kill them.
Yeah, and see, that's kind of where the issue lies. So Oriana is a pretty hard matchup. Like, she's going to have good poke on you. It's going to be hard to kill her. So the way you're going to kill her is only going to really be through all-ins with your jungler, as you said. But in these types of game where, you know, the lane's not going well and we're not really having a good lane matchup, you're going to want to play a lot more for, again, the pushing and roaming style of play. So the way that you can win against this Oriana when she's poking you out early is playing for that early mana boots back. So that means that maybe the first 2 levels you're playing pretty safe, and just, you know, the first wave or 2 you're just clearing it and, you know, just trying to not let her poke you out too much. And then on that 3rd, 4th wave, you're starting to build up a big wave and try to stack it and then crash it under the towers, so that she's not she's stuck clearing the wave under the tower while you're able to recall on your mana boots. And then once you have that mana boots, then you know, push the next wave, and then on level 5 with mana boots, you're going to look for usually a roam on that kind of scenario. So again, just in these lanes that aren't very favorable, we just want to look to, as much as possible, get recalls off for good item spikes and get roams off a lot more often by pushing our lane and then roaming. And obviously sometimes you're going to get pushed under your tower and it's going to be hard to actually do that. And in those scenarios, sometimes you do just have to sit and farm and just hope you don't die and hope your jungler comes. And that's just, you know, going to come from, again, playing the lane not as well. It's going to like kind of put us in those scenarios, because if we are pressuring the last hits, as we're talking about, because again, Oriana still has to stand still a lot of times to auto attack the minion. Sometimes she'll just use her first ability, but when she's standing still to auto attack a minion, for example, that's a great time to land free spells on her, or when she walks up for the last hit, you know, kind of pay attention to those types of things. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Got it. I guess I feel like I just need to be more aggressive in that sense and not be afraid.
Yeah, and,
right?
And there's one other thing too. Do not build stasis this early, ever. Like, never, ever, ever. Like, literally, the earliest that I would ever even consider building a stasis is after my 2nd item, and if only if I'm crazy fed and they have like a Zed or a Fizz and stuff like that. But like, your champion really needs as much damage as possible, and the only time that you want to really build super defensively, like a stasis and whatever, is going to be when you're ahead. Because when you're ahead, it's important to build defensively to not throw. So like, you know, if you're really ahead by your 2nd or 3rd item, you can build stasis. But otherwise, I wouldn't really build stasis until after 3rd item, oftentimes even after 4th item, if we're not in a really great spot, you know? And that's going to depend on the game, because sometimes, you know, you keep getting jumped on and dying from, again, like a Zed or something, and in that scenario, maybe you're going to have to build it a bit earlier. But building it this early is just lowering your damage. Yeah.
What about the Proto Belt?
Oh, Proto Belt. Yeah, Proto Belt is going to be good in a scenario where you don't need the defensive stuff, maybe because the enemy team comp is not very scary for you, or maybe your goal in this game, like say that you're not very strong necessarily gold wise, maybe you're just even gold and your team is ahead, you become more of a playmaker, and so having the Proto Belt to make better engages is going to be useful. So when you feel like your purpose of the game is less about surviving and carrying and more about making engages for your team, then you're going to go Proto Belt.
But even then, you don't build it like after 3 to 4 games?
So Proto Belt's pretty cheap, so if you need to build it when you're the playmaker after, say, your 2nd item, I'm fine with you going Proto Belt after 2nd item. But the stasis is going to be a lot more expensive, and it's going to lower your build, you know, like it's going to put you more behind. And again, the Proto Belt we're building more in a game where we want to be a playmaker, and so that means that our CC is more important more than the amount of damage we land, so that's also another reason that it's not as bad to build it after 2nd item. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Cool.
And then because I think that's my problem too sometimes with Annie, is that I try to be the one to like when I build Proto Belt, I would try to engage as much as I can, which is, I guess, fine. But then when it's like team fight for Annie, like, what do you think is like the best how to play her? Just like wait for all the spells and then
so take a sweeper. You know what sweeper is?
Yes, and that's my of course.
And so take sweeper after first dragon. Like, you know, you're gonna need the wards early game, but once you get past first dragon, take sweeper make sure that you're getting lane prio about 30 seconds before an objective spawns. And
Okay.
lane prio again means we're pushing the wave. So make sure about 30 seconds before the objective spawns, you're pushing your mid wave, you know, the best you can. Obviously, sometimes you can't, depending on how the game's going, but ideally you can push the wave. And then try to sweep around a bush and kind of play around bushes, because she's very much like a champ who you need to play around vision. You need to surprise people. You know, you could maybe be hovering over a wall and then flash over that wall, protobelt over that wall, go for that one shot. You're really looking for these, like, you know, surprise plays from people playing around vision. So the way to play team fights is to get there as early as possible when you're going to expect a fight. So again, you know, the objective timers, for example, and then using that vision to surprise people.
So it's pretty, what do you call it? Yeah, for her, it's really important to have Reaper, because
Yeah.
I could surprise people.
And again, only do that after first dragon, because first dragon we need the words for like the early game ganks and stuff. But once the first dragon's after that, then we can take sweeper.
Got it. But yeah, with like, if it's like a group up team fight, just stay in the back, and then once I get the chance, then
Yeah, just look for a flash engage. Target priority is going to be very important as well. So again, flash engage, protobelt engage onto oftentimes their carry. So there's kind of going to be two scenarios though. There's going to be the scenario where you have a more aggressive comp and they have kind of a fed carry, and in a situation like this, like say that Caitlyn in this game maybe was fed, and say that you had, I don't know, you had a Zed and you had a like Leona, you had aggressive champions. Well, then you're going to be wanting to look for these aggressive, you know, engages with your CC to try to shut down that carry, because your team is going to be able to follow up really well. But then you're going to be in a different scenario where you're going to have the fed carry is going to be on your team, and you're going to have more like of a ranged poke kind of comp. In a scenario like this, it's more important to use your CC defensively. So for example, say, you know, they have a Master Yi, they have a Fizz. Well, these champs are going to dive onto your carries. They're not going to dive onto you because you're not the one who's fed right now, right? The carry's fed. So you're going to use your CC to try to protect your carry. So it's kind of the difference between using your CC defensively and offensively, depending on how the game's going. And obviously when you're the carry, you know, sometimes then you're having to, you know, blow someone up yourself because you're super fed. And it's all situational. It all depends on the game. But that's kind of the general scenarios that we're looking at.
Got it, sir. Got it. Dang, I'm learning. So if there's anything, one thing that you for sure like you would want me to work on is lane management.
Yeah, again, the pushing and roaming a lot more, and playing less around our individual lane is definitely the early game thing that is going to be the biggest thing. And again, we'll write down some notes so we have like specific stuff to work on. But that's going to be a big thing. And then also in the lane, pressuring the last hits more than you do, again with the keeping the minions, you know, their minions slightly lower than yours when you can. And then
Okay, well, what if like when I'm roaming, then they're pushing to my tower? I think I'm just worried that they're gonna get plates, and then
so that's why we're pushing the lane. So the first thing that you do to avoid that is you get on the wave instantly, because if you clear a wave right away, then you can look at your map to see when the next wave's coming, right? Because you can see, you know, when your wave is starting to reach towards the mid lane, then their wave's obviously going to be there at the same time. And so you don't overstay on your roams. Like, you're pushing really quickly so that you have a lot of time before the next wave comes. You roam, but then you make sure you're paying attention to when that wave's coming back. So as soon as that wave is, you know, saying it reaches your tier 2 mid tower, you know, somewhere around there, you need to immediately be going back so that you're not losing too much. And it's going to be a risk reward thing, because sometimes you're going to see like, oh, I can go get this double kill. I'm okay with giving up that wave because that double kill is really, really free. So I'm just going to go get it. It's whatever. He gets some plates. I get way more value out of that. But in a scenario where you're like, I don't know, this play, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, I'm not really sure. But then there's the wave coming back. Well, you got to go get that wave first, and then you can see, you know, later if the play is going to develop again, because it's not guaranteed. That kind of makes sense?
That makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Also, build again. I think we have crown third item. Yeah, no, I don't like going crown when we're behind. Like, you're not really the carry again in this game, so I would go death cap. If you were, again, really fed in this game and had a ton of gold and you were the reason your team's winning and carrying, then you could go for crown third item, because it's going to be defensive, it's going to help you survive. But it's the same thing along the side of the stasis kind of example, where the death cap is going to be more valuable in a situation where we're not the carry. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. So it's because my logic was like, okay, you know what, we're losing, I need to build defensive so I don't.
So yeah, it's actually the exact opposite.
It's okay, so the more behind you are, build more damage.
Yeah, because so if you think about it this way, Annie's goal is to one-shot someone. If you're ahead 5,000 gold, you're gonna one-shot someone with nearly any AP item because you're so ahead. But if you're behind, you need as much possible damage to have even a chance of winning, because you need to take more risky plays when behind, because if you don't make something happen, you're just going to lose, obviously, right? Because they're just going to outscale, they're going to get the dragon, they're going to win the fight. So having that extra damage to possibly one-shot, say, the Misfortune, if, say, the Misfortune in this game, hypothetically, was really fed, and you're the only way I win is one-shotting this Misfortune. Well, then the only way you're going to one-shot Misfortune is if you have as much damage as possible in your build, and since you don't have that big gold lead, you need as much, actual damage as possible.
Right, got
And
it.
it's all situational, as always. Like, I do want to reiterate, all these points that I tell you are all situational. None of it's actually, like, as cut and dry as I make it sound. It's more general things. And so, for example, say that they had Morgana, Ashe, Twisted Fate. Well, then, like, even if you're behind, still go crown third item, because the Ashe arrow you're stopping the Twisted Fate stun. Like, there's so much value from it. And sometimes you can still get away with it because of the specific scenario, or again, like, they have a Zed or a Fizz, maybe then after second item we might want the stasis. It's just, generally speaking, that's how we think about building. Does that make sense?
No, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. That I was gonna ask something, and then power spike for Annie. Like, how many items where you're like, okay,
Yeah.
you feel wrong?
So it's all going to depend again on the specific game. Because say you reach Ludens first, like you're a little bit ahead early game, you reach Ludens, well, you're going to have a ton of burst damage early game, so that's already going to be a decent power spike. And then Infinity Orb is going to be insane burst damage. Like, you can start one-shotting people on Infinity Orb, generally speaking, so that's going to be the first big power spike, which you're going Infinity Orb second item, I'm assuming. And then
Right.
Deathcap third item is usually the other power spike. Because even when I'm ahead, a lot of times I'm preferring to build Deathcap third and crown fourth, unless I really need the crown. So the Deathcap third item is going to be like the biggest power spike, where you're going to just start one-shotting pretty much any squishy to even mid-health champions. So generally it's pretty straightforward. Also, mana boots are one of the earlier spikes as well. So it's kind of important to just understand that pretty much every time that we reach a new item, that's going to be a big power spike. Oh, and one also thing to note, say that you have to recall early because you lose a lane in the early game. Like, you're just losing and you need to recall and you only have like 500 gold. You can buy an early pendant, which is the component of Infinity Orb that gives armor or magic penetration, and that's actually a relatively big power spike. If, like, say that you don't have enough for mana boots, but you want to get something, you can do that, or you can get the Lost Chapter from for Ludens as well. But things like that, just like those small item spikes early game are actually pretty big as well.
Pendant, that's the one. Oh, that's the one that
purple
builds.
one?
Oh yeah, that builds into the Infinity Orb, right?
Yes, and it gives magic penetration, but yes, it builds into Infinity Orb.
Got it. So for her, you would say that Ludens, Infinity Orb, and Rabadon's is like key item to keep building.
I'm not actually sure. I think Ludens is typically the first item. I don't play Annie, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure usually Ludens first, and then definitely Infinity Orb, Deathcap second and third are 100%. And again, in those specific scenarios we described, maybe Crown third can work, but usually Crown would be fourth for me.
Fourth, okay. Now I know that's like opposite, because I was like, I always like to do defense. That's the reason why I did also, what do you call Hourglass, to just make sure.
And so another thing to note here with how we kind of play this fight, similar, we're ahead because even though we're behind gold, we have 3 inhibs dead, and so basically it's unlosable so long as we don't make dumb mistakes and all die at once, because we have so many minions. And so in a scenario like this where you're so ahead and it's basically unlosable, you don't want to be taking risky plays like how you made a really aggressive play going it. So, like, again, it's the same with the whole building defensively when we're ahead. We also want to play more defensively when we're ahead. And I don't want you to start playing, so passive that you're just like, letting the enemy do whatever they want. But generally speaking, we want to make a bit more guaranteed plays rather than going for a 50-50 kind of kill like that.
Got it.
I mean, it looks like we win anyway, so it should be fine.
Yeah, we did. But I think I wanted to show this initially. It's just because I got out roam.
Yeah, no, this is good to learn from. There's plenty. You don't only learn from losses, you can learn from wins too, for sure.
Right. It's just I got out roam, but how I tried to win is just I tried to get as many plates as I can.
Yeah.
but I like you said, I feel like maybe it would have been easier for us to win had I have Rome. That makes sense. That makes sense. So I can just ask it.
Yeah, go ahead. See my screen,
So I
right?
mean,
Or no?
did I see my screen?
See my screen, I'm asking.
Oh, here. Oh, yeah. I didn't know that. So I guess you already answered this. Yeah, what are my great matchup? Went to Rome. What's my power spike? How
But
many
we can write
items
these
do I?
things down if you want, or would you just...
Sure, sure. We
Sure.
can.
So the first thing you wanted to know matchups.
What are my great matchup? Like which
Good
champion? Yeah,
into assassin and aggro champs.
yeah. Can you
Bad when outranged. Yeah.
can you specify some champions?
Sure. So good into assassins and aggro champs. I'll list champs like Akali. I don't know. I'm trying to think of who else like specifically, because again, I don't really play this champ, so I can't think of like specific matchups that I'm. Cat. Oh, you're really good in like cat for sure.
Hmm.
Basically just most assassins would be
No. Zed.
Yeah, Zed. I mean, obviously you might get one shot by him, but Zed is like still probably pretty good. And then yeah, generally
How about
champs who play like that. Yeah.
Yasuo and the brothers?
I mean, they're so like OP right now. I'd imagine that Yasuo still wins the early lane against you, but like that you're fine against him because you can still ult him when he goes aggro and whatever. I would say that
Mm-hmm.
those matchups are probably more like 50-50. Like I wouldn't say they're necessarily bad or good. They're just kind of fine.
Got it. Got it.
And then yeah, I'll just write like Syndra, Ori, these types of champs are kind of the ones that are the harder matchups. Do you want me
Okay.
to write any more champs or anything else that you want
Sure,
elaborated on?
that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. And then the second one is went to Rome.
Yeah. So Rome, after lane is pushed, especially when we don't have an easy kill in lane. So basically, you need to make sure you push your lane first. And then we're almost always wanting, as Annie especially, to look for roams pretty much whenever. So that's why after lane is pushed is the main thing to keep in mind. But if you have an easy kill in lane, for example, like you're winning your lane again, like we spoke about, you can kind of play more for the actual lane phase and less for the roaming. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
And then one more thing as well is base our roams off of our jungle pathing. So when your jungler is, say he's cleared 2 camps on his top side, he has 1 camp left, well then oftentimes he's going to look for a top side gank once those camps are gone. And so if you can match your wave being cleared to when he's clearing that last camp, and then you can roam towards the top side when he's going, it's going to obviously make the gank a lot more likely to work out.
Got it. Sounds good. But when not to Rome?
Sure. So do not roam when, I mean, there's going to be plenty of scenarios, so I'll just kind of name some. So when, for example, your team, or when the fight already looks decided. So, for example, like, maybe your teammates already have pretty much killed both of them and they're clearly going to kill them. Like, you don't need to start wasting your time, right? Or say your teammates are all basically already dead. Again, don't really waste our time. Also, do not roam when we have a minion win. In mid.
Okay.
And do not roam when there is little to gain from the roam. So for example, a roam's value goes up much more when an objective is spawning soon, or when there's a turret to play for after the roam, things like that. So, if say your Garen already took the first tower and there's no objective up, don't roam to help your Garen when he's not going to get much out of that. He's already winning his lane really hard. Maybe their jungler's even on the opposite side of the map. Like, your jungler is on the opposite side of the map. There's just there's not much that can actually be gained apart from just that individual kill. But when there's a lot more, like for example, say he's built up a really big wave and there is that tower still there, well then if you kill that laner on that roam, that wave crashes under the tower, the enemy loses that wave, you get turret plates, the enemy loses a lot more gold. So it's kind of about how much value we can gain from the roam as well, more than 1 kill.
Got it. Okay. So if sometimes I've done this before where I'm a little ahead and I'll let them push me closer to my turret, then I'll kill them and I push the wave all the way through and get plates. Is that a good thing too?
So you kill someone in lane, but the
But
wave is
I
close
would,
to you, and then you kill the wave and you go for plates after.
oh, no, I would kill the champion.
Yeah.
After killing the champion in the mid lane, then I'll push the wave all the way to the turret to get some plates.
Yeah, so this is rarely going to be the best thing to do. So usually the best thing to do after you get the kill is to push the wave first, right? And then after you push the wave, you're typically going to want to take a recall to get your item, because usually this is going to mean you have some type of decent power spike. Not always, but especially in the earlier parts of the game, it's going to be, you know, it's going to be maybe a mana boots, it's going to be Lost Chapter and like other components. It's going to be good stuff. And generally you're going to be somewhat low health or mana. You probably used your flash, right? Things like this. So you're going to be very gankable. So the times where you can go for plates would be times where you know where the enemy jungle is, you still have your flash up, you're relatively high health, you know, you have ways to protect yourself. Then like you can be like, okay, I can go for this because it's pretty unlikely that I die. But generally speaking, the problem with that is then you're going to be stuck in a lane for too long after pushing those plates. The enemy is going to respawn. Now they're going to have bought their items on the recall. They're going to be higher health, and then you're usually going to die and you're going to get stuck in lane and you get ganked, other things like that. So,
Got it.
so we'll write something along those lines. After killing in lane, usually push the wave quickly, then recall to get items. I can't type. Health and mana. Only go for plates when we are still high health, have flash,
Right.
and know enemy location, so that you know you're not going to die. So that's really going to be the only scenario where plates are valuable. And maybe if your jungler's nearby, it's more, you know, other things too. But generally, like, this is going to be what we're looking at.
Okay. That's awesome. Thank you.
Do you have any other questions, or is that
like, well, we've already talked about like how many items, my power spike,
yeah?
and
So
then
power
my
spike
bad.
pretty much just
Yeah.
basically every full item and early game is mana boots. 3 items is our strongest point.
Three items is strongest point. Yeah.
Because that's where we're
And
hitting
then,
the death cap, obviously.
right. I think that's pretty much what I have
Okay.
written here.
Then I'm going to start writing out some points that were more based around how we, like, what we spoke about as well now
Yes.
for the notes, because that's what we're going to want you to work on as well, obviously. So
Yes, please.
we'll do that. And then it looks like it has been about an hour, so we'll probably
Okay.
won't go over a second game.
Right.
But I think this is plenty to look at anyways. And so again, initially, level 1, try enemy minions, slightly lower our minions. Also, do you know that you get level 2 on the 4th minion of the first minion wave?
I saw that from your video, so
Yeah,
yes.
okay. And sometimes if the wave is not cleared really quickly, it's the 3rd minion, but typically it's going to be the 4th minion if we don't like clear it relatively quickly. So again, like I said, try to keep the enemy minions slightly lower than our minions, then punish enemy last hits. Because again, rather than using our abilities all willy-nilly, we use our abilities as soon as, you know, the enemy stands still to auto-attack a minion, for example. Things like this. And then play around our level 2 advantage. But yeah.
Is this for range and melee thing?
So this is every matchup. Ideally, we're going to do what I'm telling you. Now, in a matchup where it's hard to play, so for example, you're into a Syndra and Orianna, you have to understand that, you know, if they're poking you out and being aggressive, that you have to give up that level 2 advantage and give up this minion advantage. So this is going to be, yes, in a scenario where we have like a decent matchup. But yeah, in matchups, like in harder matchups, just play for last hits and let the enemy get prio. Play around level 5, mana boots, power spike. So again, like in these lanes, when it's not easy early on, you're playing again. When you get level 5, you get mana boots, then maybe your jungler calms, maybe they don't. That's when you have the pressure to now possibly all in them, which gives you more potential to go for the wave. So that you can either push the wave and roam, or push the wave and then they come onto you, and then you get a possible, like, all in. That kind of makes sense?
That makes a lot of sense. Awesome.
Okay, let's see, what else was it that we spoke about?
Like push the lane.
Yeah, so just generally, our goal as Annie is to push and roam rather than play for our own lane. And then did we speak about, so when roaming, I'll do this the next point. So, and again, if you stop me anytime you have questions, but when roaming,
Sure.
make sure to pay attention to the next wave timer, or just to the next wave, and come back lane when it is reaching mid, basically. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. And then you said 30 seconds before the drop.
Yeah.
Push.
Make sure push wave about 30 seconds before objective. Use this time to either recall for item, set up vision, sweeper, or to make plays with our team. So any of these choices, once we've gotten the objective, or once we've pushed the wave close to the objective, are good. Again, because if obviously, if you're really close to death cap, for example, you need to be aware of that, and then pushing that wave to get that death cap recall, and then you have time to be on your power spike, for example. Or you just you know that you're probably not going to win the fight if you don't have much good engage on your team, so you need to be playing around that bush so that you can one shot the carry, because that's kind of how the fight's going to be won. Or if our teammates are obviously making plays, then we're going to go with them and try to help as well.
Got it. Okay, I have a question.
Yep.
So the I know that we're talking about the level 2 spike. Once I get level 2 before them, what's the advantage do I have?
You have an extra ability, so you can just trade really easy on them. You also get additional stats. You get more health and damage, and more resist. So basically everything is stronger. So when you trade with them, you're not going to take as much damage from them, and then you're going to have that extra ability to deal more damage from them. So basically what you're doing is you make sure that you're paying attention to the exact second you're going to hit it. You instantly level your ability. I think it would be your like cone looking ability, and then you would use that to trade on them as soon as you get it, basically. And then Annie's not going to have the highest level 2 spike ever. Like, she's not a crazy level 2 champion, so you're not going to probably kill them on this advantage, but you're going to use it to just get some good trading on them before they're able to get level 2.
Yeah, because I was just kind of hard. Even if you get level 2, sometimes you have to hit the stun and then to get you.
Yeah, for sure. It's not going to be, again, as big of an advantage for Annie, but it is still a value. Again, we could still get that trade on them with the extra ability, and having the extra resist as well will still allow us to win the trades, just not as hard as some other champions would on level 2.
Got it.
Okay, and then one of the final things that I'll speak about is when we are winning lane early, it is okay to play more selfishly, but when in or behind, play for roaming and helping team. And also, it is something. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No. I said I see.
Okay, so it is something we didn't really talk about, but side laning is important as well as a mage. You didn't really have the best opportunities to side lane in this game, but oftentimes in the later parts of the game, your teammates are going to come towards mid, and then like say your ADC or your support, they come towards mid lane, and in scenarios like this, you need to make sure you're covering the side lanes. So just basically make sure side lanes are cleared when our team goes mid. Like, you don't always need to just go back to mid every single time. Make sure you're always, when you come out of base, paying attention to where the waves are, and if again your teammates are covering other lanes, sometimes you're going to need to get that extra gold in the side lane. I have a YouTube video, like a coaching video that I think we'll release in like a couple days of coaching a mid laner who like the main focus was their side laning and getting more gold. It was like a Yasuo and Yone player. And so if you see that video, that could give you more insight on this specific tip. But
Sounds good. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I need, because sometimes I feel like I'm ahead of kills, but then my gold is still pretty low.
yeah, and again, that is the main focus. That I speak to him about a lot of specifics about that. So again, since his gameplay kind of exemplified how we could do that better, and then he does a live game after that, and he's able to utilize this and get a lot more gold. And so I can check when that video is coming out after we're done here. I'll tell you. So, but yeah.
Right. Okay. Cool. And that I think what, like, you know, when we're laning are clearing the way, then like there's really no time for me to go. Like, how does that work?
When there's no time for you to roam after clearing the wave,
Yeah, because like I cleared the wave, then
the next one
the other,
comes.
the next one comes, or uh, my opponent is clearing wave both at the same time.
Yeah, in scenarios like that, you're just going to be playing the lane phase normally, where you just wait for the next wave and you make this kind of same play on the next wave, where now it's about clearing that next wave that's coming. So oftentimes, for example, I'm planning my roam as the next wave is coming. Like I'm not planning to push this wave and then roam. I'm like, okay, I'm going to push this wave so I have prio. This next wave is going to come, and then this wave, as soon as it comes, I'm going to clear that one and then roam. So it's just about, you don't have to make a play on every single wave. Some waves are waves where you're just sitting and farming and chilling, and then you plan based on, again, your enemy jungle, your jungler's pathing, where your teammates are kind of fighting, if there's people low on the map. Things like that are going to make you decide whether you actually do decide to roam or not.
Okay. Now, how do I get better?
Kind of cut out. How do you what?
So how do I get better in learning how to manage those waves and just making sure, okay, this is the time I'm gonna push it so I can roam.
Yeah,
Just
so
making
I'll write out some examples of when it's good to roam. Well, actually, we talked about that earlier. So I don't even know if I need to write things. So again,
no. I think
yeah.
I got you.
So what is the confusion then?
I guess the confusion, like there's like you said, there's times when uh like the enemy champion is clearing the way as fast as I can, and so I feel like I can't really roam because the champion is in the mid lane also,
Yeah.
so I can match him there.
So if
You know
he's
what I
just
mean?
also there, if you've cleared the wave, then it doesn't matter if he's there or not, because there's nothing for him to gain from it because he doesn't have a wave. And so in a scenario like that, you can still look for a roam if it's a good roam opportunity. And if he does clear it and then the next wave is coming, then you just stay in the lane. And like you don't always have to be making a play. Sometimes he's clearing the wave as fast as you, he's matching it. You just continue to trade back and forth in the lane with him, and then make sure that you're playing around your jungle. So if your jungle does come for a gank, for example, you're ready to flash ult as quick as possible. And when you see your jungler is nowhere nearby, if you don't think that you can win the trades with this guy, then you're just going to continue to just farm under your tower. Like sometimes you do just get stuck farming under your tower for multiple waves, and it's okay. You don't always have to be permanently active doing something. Does that make sense, or is there still?
That makes everything. And also, question for this: for waves, is there a, because it's not constantly going nonstop, right?
Yeah.
Is there like a gap after like 3 minutes? Then waves will only produce waves, and then after that, the next one will be longer.
The waves will always spawn. I don't know the exact time, but it's like every like 30 or so seconds that a wave spawns. I don't know the exact time, but it's roughly every 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. I see. Because I mean, you can kind of predict like if the waves are coming.
Yeah.
And then if you clear those two, they will take a longer time for one
Yeah,
to come.
and yeah, I don't know the exact timer, but yeah, if you've cleared the wave as soon as it gets to mid, then you're gonna know you have a longer time. But if the wave has been there for a while and then you clear it a little later, then yeah, the next wave's gonna come soon, so you can't really roam as much.
Thank you. That's everything. Cool.
So is that all, or is there anything? else?
No, I think that's pretty much it. So I and sweeper after first drive, right?
Yeah. Oh, sure. I can write that quickly.
Yeah.
Big
Just
sweeper after first strike.
sometimes, okay, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like bad to use sweeper if I don't barge, so I would get sweeper. Man, is this worth it to sweep in the area? But nothing
So
there.
that's actually another thing. So when we're really ahead, the words oftentimes are going to be more valuable because we're going to have priority over everything already, like control of the jungle. So having the deeper words on their blue buffs and other things can allow us to sneak up on them easier as well. So sometimes when you're ahead, taking the words is fine, but generally I would just say, yeah, like the sweeper is just with your champions. It works really well. So I would just take sweeper generally.
Got it. Sounds
Okay.
good to me.
Then I'll send these to you, and
Thanks.
I'll see you later.